Chris Prefontaine, welcome to the show. Welcome to Become Your Own Superhero.
I love it. I'm glad to be here, buddy. Good to talk with you again.
Well, it's lovely to see you again, Chris. And I was racking my brain thinking about what can I ask a man who, on the surface of it all, seems like he's got it all together. And I know very rarely in life is that the case. But you really do seem like you've got a handle on most things. And I want to ask you just quickly at the very start, for people that don't know you, and there will be a good chunk that don't, who is Chris Prefontaine when he's at home?
Sure. Did you say when I'm home?
When you're at home, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone walks in, hey, who's this guy?
Yeah. Well, let me just start basics, right? A husband, 36 years, grandfather with 2 great grandchildren, and father and son, right? All the above. That's surface level, right, Laban? Then let's just hat-wise switch to the business side of things. I hope the best leader I can be. Even at home, I'm saying the best leader I can be to set the example, to create some amazing experiences around the world with both family and business. That was very broad. We can peel that back if you want.
It is very broad. Now, I affectionately declare myself the world's best courage coach. I'm going to put you on the spot because I haven't prepped you with this question at all. In fact, I've prepped you with no questions. If you were to be the best in the world, what would it be?
I've got to stick with the biz on this one for the real estate coach. Like, I could just insert real estate in your title, right? Because we're doing stuff that literally very few people are doing. And I mean, everywhere, in the UK, in Canada, in US, these areas I know we're already touched. People sometimes look at us like, what are you doing? Yet it's been around since the 1600s. So we've just found a way to wrap our arms around something that people can relate to, trademark a whole bunch of cool things within that, and then crush it. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Well, you look great for 500 odd years old, Chris, I've got to say. Now, you and I came together through mutual friends and a mastermind group where I had an opportunity to present. I came to learn for anyone that has an interest in real estate, this is probably going to be a sweet spot for you, unless you can think otherwise, Chris. It's not just real estate. It's all to do with everything around mindset and service-orientated mindsets, that type of thing. But we are entering a really fascinating time in history. And I'm relying on my intuition a lot these days, but I've got a really funny feeling, and it may not be that funny, that the poop might be hitting the fan from an economic point of view. And I know a lot of people will be curious to know, what are your thoughts, given your expertise in real estate, what you think is going to happen in the next 24, 36 months?
Yeah, this is a hot question right now, right? Of course, in real estate, but let me preface it with this, because I'm from New England, that we tend to be super blunt. I'm just going to tell you like it is. There's a lot of predictions going on. They might be telling the truth in their head, but they're lying in a sense, because nobody knows. The billionaires don't know. And if I knew, I wouldn't be on a podcast with you, and you wouldn't be here either. We'd be on a beach somewhere together. So having said that, just as a disclosure, my thought is it's a perfect storm in a good way. And I'm coming from our niche in creative real estate, because some niches will say, that's not good, what's going to be going on. As interest rates have come up already, so it's not a prediction. They're pushing, that action in itself is pushing hundreds of thousands of buyers out of qualifications, plain and simple. They were on the cusp and now they're gone. And so they think they can't buy a house. We help with that. Sellers, because that happened, now aren't selling as readily, and it's starting to cool down more quickly. Well, demand's going to go down. It has to. The interest rates just went up. It pushed everybody out. Sellers now don't have as much demand. So perfect storm in that sense. Other piece of the perfect storm, a lot of people coming out of forbearances from COVID. All they did is kick the can down the street, really. And they're coming out of the woodwork. Like, we're getting calls crazy from people that truly need guidance. Like, they're stuck. They're going to get foreclosed on. They're going to give up equity. They all kinds of not great things, and we can help them. So in our niche, this is great. I built this to kind of thrive in all markets, but best is flat or slightly going down. When it's going straight up like it was, I got to talk to a lot of sellers to get the same deal. So I like what's going on, and that my prediction is it's going to cool off a bit because of what I just said with the interest rates and forbearances and all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, and I would never expect you to give me a real doom and gloom answer. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense given the industry you're in, and it's not going to serve anyone very well. Like things are always worse in our heads than what they are in reality for the most part, certainly my experience. So who is it that you can serve the best in your current situation, do you think?
There's two ends and they're opposite ends of the spectrum, actually. No one's ever really asked it this way, so I appreciate it. One side is those sellers that aren't on market yet. They're off-market properties. And I'm going to keep going more micro. They're free and clear, meaning there's no mortgage on their property. The building I'm sitting in today, right now, was free and clear in a hot market, and I bought it owner financing, no banks. I can help them because they're looking to maximize return. If they're debt free, they want to maximize their return. They're not in a rush to get their cash. They're also looking to do some estate planning and tax planning, and it serves them to do owner financing. So that's the people that have time, don't need their money right now. They're all set. We can serve them quite well. About a third of the properties in US anyway, I don't know all the countries, of course, are debt free. Third. So other end, people coming out of forbearance, people that got sick with COVID, people that are going to lose their house, they need debt relief tomorrow like they need water. We can help them a great deal. And those are the ones I alluded to earlier saying they're coming out of the woodwork, and we can help them get rid of stress and get rid of debt immediately. And there's a whole bunch in between, but those two scenarios are opposite ends of extreme. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think what's really important from my own experience as well. And now, to be honest, even at 41, Chris, I've never been in a position to buy property or be involved in property. I've always been a renter, and I will be solving that. I'll be ticking that off the bucket list very, very soon. Don't you worry about that. But what I came to learn after running or creating my own business, starting my own business in 2019, which was a recruitment business, total unmitigated financial disaster. And I use that term only for effect because it allowed me to figure out my purpose, is that when you are being hounded by the debtors, there's ways and means of dealing with that won't end in you committing suicide because you're so stressed out about everything. And I think that's what you're talking about in many cases. There is a lot more options than people realize if you're used to just dealing with a giant corporate entity in the form of a bank. Would you be able to share what some of those options might be?
Yeah, and you're spot on. I'll again precede it with this answer, and then I'll jump into it. I was in real estate about 18 years or so prior to the crash. And prior to that, I didn't do what I'm doing now. Why? I didn't have all the pieces together to understand. I knew there was creativity going on, but I didn't know it all. So having that as a backdrop, what are some ways that sellers and buyers can be guided right now with the pivoting and chaos? That's good for us. Well, selling on a lease purchase is one way we buy property. So for a seller to know they can do that with us, title doesn't transfer. They enter into a lease purchase agreement with us, whereby they have no debt whatsoever. We're covering their underlying debt, monthly payments, and we're also taking over all responsibilities, maintenance, repairs, everything. They can also sell like the gentleman here that sold me this building, which was owner financing. Let's flip from seller to buyer. As a buyer, for me to buy this building in our area and most areas, to go through underwriting for a commercial building, a mixed use building, it's grueling. They get a microscope everywhere. You don't want them to have a microscope. They're looking at you. They're looking at everything, and you got to put a lot of money down. This deal was a handshake and a pretty fast moving deal. Otherwise, would have been grueling. So he liked that. I like that as the buyer, right? And then all the buyers that are going to think they lost hope, or maybe they did lose hope, to know that there's a vehicle into home ownership, and that would be rent to own. We set up people on a rent to own, so they have time to qualify for mortgage. They have time to fix their credit. They have time to save more money. Whereas the conventional person, right this second, if you take a snapshot in time of all the buyers, Laban, about 82% of them, this is a nasty number. 82% of them right this second can't get financing. Now, some can in like 2 or 3 months with some fixes, but some 2 or 3 years. And some of them come to us in tears that we said, here's the road. You can do it. Here's the pathway to get you mortgage ready. So there's all kinds of creative, I gave you 3 or 4 there, but there's all kinds of ways for buyers and sellers to operate outside of the conventional model. And one of our sort of our passion and our mission, part of our mission, is to really disrupt the real estate industry and the banks, frankly, because I can't stand them, and give people options.
Well, you're throwing some terminology that I've never heard of before. And you said something there that I know people are going to be spinning and around going, what? Like handshake agreements. Like how do you build up something where you're getting handshake agreements and getting far better outcomes than you would at the bank? That's a superpower right there, in my opinion.
Okay. So little advantage I had was I'd been at it, this is 4 years ago, I bought this building. So granted, I'd been at it 27 years at that point or whatever, and he knew that, number one. Number two, I did hand him very conveniently my book, and he read the book and said, I like what you went through with your family, because my son had a snowboard accident. He was in a coma for a month, and he read all about us and knew, okay, these guys have been in the trenches. They've had family challenges, but they're here. And I think that helped a lot. But what do some of my students do that don't have that? They lean on us. We're like their quasi partners. That's how we do deals. So someone who's brand new could say, well, I couldn't do what you did. I don't have a book. No, but you can be in our wicked smart community, we call it, and you can do deals by leaning on your quote unquote senior partner, which is us.
When I asked you what you did when you're at home, you'd neglected to leave author out of there. That's one of many, many other things that you haven't included in there, which is really important. And I know we're doing high level explanation. You've got this amazing podcast. How can people find this podcast, Chris? What's it called?
smartrealestatecoachpodcast.com. So if you just go on iTunes or any of the podcast apps, Smart Real Estate Coach.
And you're able to go into a lot more detail about the kind of stuff you're talking about. And there's lots of amazing resources. The book itself, what's the name of the book?
The main one is Real Estate on Your Terms. And that was revised, not planned, because I didn't know COVID was coming, but right during COVID, we were finishing a revision. So we stayed with it and updated it tremendous, like right through it. So it's very, very updated. Real Estate on Your Terms. It's on Amazon. It's a bestseller. But at the end of the show, we're going to give your tribe a private link that gets it for free. And if it's out of the country, it'll be electronic for us. If it's in country, it'll be a free shipment. And I mean free, not put your credit card in for shipping, like free. We're going to ship it on our dime.
Well, that's the thing I love about you guys, Chris. Like when we got together, it was through this heart-centered environment and basically leading into every single interaction, which is how I like to do life. With what value can I add this person's life? And you don't get to see that much in this day and age. So people are thinking, what's he getting out of this? Well, what are you getting out of this?
Well, two things. I spoke with someone this morning that I need to hook you up with this gentleman. I'll mention that in a minute. Well, I'll say it, Ryan Hawk. And he talked about, I'm going to repeat what he said to answer your question. He talked about this value add when you go into any relationship, right? There's something about the energy, number one, that when you give out, it comes back in opportunities galore. But number two, from a real metric standpoint, honestly, when we give the book out for free, I'm big on free because there's so many shiny objects in real estate. They're everywhere. I can go do mobile homes. I can go do VRBO. There's so many. I want people to not come into our community until such time they've done their due diligence and they say, that's for me. I can get behind this. Or Chris, I like what your family's doing. I can get behind you. So we give it away for free for that reason. It does like a pre-qualification, if you will. They read it. This is for me. They read it. Yeah, that's a lot of work. That's not for me. Okay, great. We just both saved a whole bunch of time. That's why we do it.
It's so powerful. And like for people to think, like real estate to write a book. And I know there's people like Grant Cardone and other stuff, but like this is the credibility 101. Like it really is so powerful from my own experience, right? And it allows them to become familiar with you. And when people know, like, and trust you, they buy from you, right? And I've been day 4 in this 5-day challenge that I've been doing with a guy called Myron Golden. You ever heard of that name?
No, that's a writer downer for me. Myron Golden?
Myron, Myrongolden. It's his real name. He's a devout Christian guy based out of Naples in Florida. He's I think he had polio when he was born. And this guy made 50 million last year, and he's going to make 200 million next year. The money is the byproduct of the value that he's creating in the world. He's teaching people how to do 7-figure days, right? Through these. You got to learn more about this guy. I'm
going to check him out. I appreciate the value there.
That's right. Awesome. And I'll send you through, I'll put an affiliate link in there because he does these challenges once a month. But what he said to me, he said so many amazing things, but he's like, when you're going to charge for something, like create 10 times more value than what you charge. And it really resonated with me, Chris. I was like, man, like how do I continue to do this? And knowing what I know about you guys, when I say you and you got family involved, and I want you to talk about your family in a minute. You guys really overservice. You overservice, and you come from a really genuine place. And I know there might be some people coming outside of the United States. Like, can you service any international customers, or is it all continental US?
Yeah, what's neat is I mentioned UK earlier. That came to mind immediately. And then Australia, I have a good friend, Victor, in Australia. They do real estate. And I don't know, I'm not saying the other countries don't, but I know those two in particular, those areas, excuse me, do real estate creatively on terms like this, no question. And people have gotten our course, and then of course, Canada. So I could say that just the kind of Northeast, North America rather. So yes, is the short answer. It doesn't change for us. We're going to coach them up the same way. They're just going to add the nuances in their particular area, but it's no different than I'm sitting in the smallest state in the United States right now in Rhode Island, and we deal with people in California. It's no different than me going across the pond or wherever I go.
You touched on this amazing medical event that happened in your family's life. You touched on it very lightly. I'd love for you to go into a bit more detail because it's a magnificent story.
Sure. So Nick was, I want to say middle school. Yeah, he was middle school. Just
now, who's Nick? School. Who's Nick? For
my
people
son.
Who don't know. Right.
Yeah. Sorry. And it was a rainy, icy day, and he went off of a jump on a snowboard, caught an edge. Long story short, landed on his head. They couldn't life flight him because it was too windy. And talk about miracles. There was a ambulance in the parking lot. The gentleman's name was Chris. He's one of two in the entire area that can intubate, put the tube down, intubate. And he was there, or Nick would be a vegetable today. Fast forward, Nick had to learn how to walk, talk, eat. I mean, flashcards, 1+1, everything all over again. Ended up graduating from high school, and he's in our business. He's across the hall right now. You wouldn't know if you walked up to him. He has his own speaking business now. It's at nickprefontaine.com. If I can just give him a little plug there.
Please do.
But he's also in the real estate. So amazing story that we all got through. In hindsight, I look at it and go, how do we do that? We were in a fog and we just did it.
Do you think that event in your life was a key proponent or component to doing what you're doing now so well?
Oh, sure. Because I think you and I might have talked about this when you were on my show, but when you stack up little wins like that, let's just call it that. I know it's not a business, but it's little wins. It's posting signs every day in his room with affirmations before he could talk, but he could read. Those wins I translate to how I deal with clients now to this day, like little wins, stack up little wins. So I think in many ways I could probably think of pages and pages and more, but yeah, I think most definitely. And then in life, coincidentally, my wife is dealing right now. This was 2003. My wife's dealing right now with a family member who had a stroke, and they're going through therapy, and she's going through it like clockwork, just like she did when Nick needed it. That came back to help. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
The gift of adversity, as I like to call it.
Yep.
And I think this is another really good question to ask you, Chris, because outside of real estate, what's some advice that you would share right now for people that are right at the end of their tether? And I'm talking completely burnt out, fatigued with all the everything that's gone on the last couple of years, and really at their wits' end. Outside of real estate, I'm talking people that are close to the edge.
Yeah. Every time someone asks me any related question to this, my mind, Laban, goes to someone else has been there. And so then it goes to find them. Like, no different than, although a lighter topic, I had David Nurse. He's an NBA kind of high performance coach, another good guy to connect you with. And he said, Chris, these guys make 10 or 12 million. What I do is I Google who else has done that. The skill they're working on might be a jump shot, might be this. So same if someone's on the edge of some, there's stories all over YouTube. Find them, the ones that persevered, and go model behavior or talk to them better. He just models it. Now he's training someone worth 10 million. He just finds that and they model that. So why can't we do that if someone's on the edge? Just model that. Hey, you need to chat with Laban. He went through that, and then hook up with him. Don't you think, and I'll ask you, don't you think if somebody went through a life event and got through it like that they'd love to help someone else that called them up because they saw their video on YouTube. I mean, I would think that it'd answer them and no problem at all. But people are afraid to reach out and talk to them like that and be vulnerable, I think.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, Chris.
Yep, spot on. I remember.
Legitimately, and I used this quote, I think when you and I were on your podcast, ask for help, not so that you appear weak, but so that you can remain strong and keep asking for help until you get it, right?
Yep.
And by doing that, and like someone else said to me the other day, say your trauma out loud so often that it doesn't traumatize you anymore. Isn't that great?
That is amazing. I've never heard that. That's amazing.
I'll get you the guy's name as well. He's a really inspiring dude as well. We jumped on a call.
That's sweet.
I forgot his name. I heard a lot of Zoom calls this week. Chris, you're a busy guy and we are running out of time, but where can people find you?
Couple things. I remember I said I'm big on free, so they can just go to smartrealestatecoach.com. But that special link that I set up specifically for your tribe is simply wickedsmartbooks.com/superhero. So wickedsmartbooks.com/superhero. They'll get some goodies in the book. And then if they don't mind listening to me and my New England speed, the fastest we move for an hour, they can go to a free class. It's just simply smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class. And there's a lot of content there.
Do you have any concluding thoughts for our audience today, Chris?
I'll say something real generic that I think it's not real estate. It's any business, in my opinion, a little formula, 3 steps. One is find an industry, or in our case, if you're in real estate, a niche in real estate, doesn't matter. Find something you can get behind, morally, ethically, passion, everything you can get. You got that. I could do that if someone could show me. Second, find someone that's already doing it, like we kind of talked about. And not they did it 20 years ago. They're doing it now. They're doing it well. And you also align with their values, not they did a business well and they wrecked their life over it. I know people like that. And so find them. And third, stick with it with blinders on, no matter how hard it gets, for a minimum of 36 months. Now, I say that. I had Brian Tracy on my podcast, who's 82, and he said, no. He's the first person to challenge me. He said, no, that's wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, 7 years it's going to take someone to do anything well. I don't care what business, because the first 2 or 3 you suck, and then you kind of feel adequate, and then you hit it. Then you hit the wealth creation. 7 years. So there's the 3-step formula.
Thank you, Brian Tracy. God bless that man.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Prefontaine.